this all started back in January of 2025 on a random, don't actually know what day of the week, but there we go. I decided to create an aesthetic for my birthday. Now, I usually don't do much for my birthday at the moment, but this year I decided it was going to be different. I picked a random colour, purple, mostly because I've got a pair of sunglasses on my desk that is purple that I've never worn. And I thought, hey, purple it is. Um, with that, I then chose other colours to go with it, starting off with black. I felt like black could go with a nice deep shade of purple. And also added silver into the mix because I just like silver. I'm a silver girly. And also just looking around my room and I saw disco balls. I've, really started to love disco balls recently. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, added them to the mixture as well, also including the motif of stars because I just genuinely love stars. With this, an aesthetic was born. Not really an original one, as I later found out when I was scrolling through Pinterest, but with these original colours and ideas in mind, I created a Pinterest board and I started off by simply looking at eyeshadow palettes to really help the algorithms find the colours that I was looking for or just the vibe in general. And from there, I slowly started adding other things like decorations or other things that really match the aesthetic, where if it included deep purples with silvers and stars and disco balls, just adding them all together to try and get the vibe. Just really trying to push those Pinterest algorithms. Now, also when looking at this aesthetic, I did take inspiration from Olivia Rodrigo. I was going to say her Guts album, but also looking back at it, some of her Sour album as well, because they were both purple themed. However, I do feel like I leaned heavily more into the Guts album because the deeper shades of purple and the stars. But I really wanted to focus on this album in general for many reasons. One of them being that this album is one that she released when she was 19, and me turning 19, I thought it would be perfect to go with that. Yeah, I just started slowly adding to a Pinterest board with no actual plans of what this aesthetic will be used for. That's where we fast forward a couple months to, I want to say about March of 2025. I was hanging out with my bestie, my wife, um, as we usually do once a month, and we were talking about stuff we just wanted to do in general. And one of the things she brought up was going to McDonald's all dressed up like prom dresses, like, fancy ball gowns and sparkly and, doing our hair and having our makeup and just being really, really overdressed just to go to McDonald's. Now, this is something we've wanted to do for a couple of years now, just go into a charity shop, buy a dress, thrift flip it, make it look a little bit sparklier, a little fancier, just to go to McDonald's. When she mentioned this and reminded me of that, I was like, right, that's what we're doing for my birthday. We now have a plan of what we're going to do. So I continued to add things to my Pinterest board, dress ideas, or inspiration that I was looking at, before then asking her if she was down to do this idea. Which now brings us to May of 2025. Um, I brought up in conversation whilst we were hanging out, and I was just like, hey, I think I might have an idea for my birthday. Are you down? Um, so sent her the Pinterest board, showed it to her, and I said, here's the vibe, here's the aesthetic. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make our own dresses, fashion textiles girlies. So, that's how we met. At college. So that was fun. Only got through with it because of her. So thanks, girly. Um, but yes, I thought time to put our skills to the test. Let's try and make ourselves dresses from scratch, if you will. So I was like, here's the vibe, here's the aesthetic, this is what we're doing. Basically a brief. And I was like, yeah, interpret it how you will. And I'd love to see the final result. So she agreed and was down to do this weird, crazy idea. Not that out there, but a bit strange for the average, onlooker. Two girls in ball gowns in the middle of McDonald's, but there we go. Or in the city because we're going to McDonald's in the city centre. So that's fun. But yeah, she was down to do that, and that basically gave 2 months to do this. I started then looking at fabrics. I also tried, I'm going to say, try to give myself the challenge of buying everything secondhand because majority of the time I buy things secondhand anyway. Um, Especially when sewing projects or craft projects or just in general. So it wasn't too out there, but I was looking on Vinted. Most of the stuff actually came off Vinted, but I was looking at curtains. I did find some purplish curtains. Um, and I did end up getting those ones. I also got black curtains for the overlay fabric, doing the top of the purple. So yeah, black curtains, purple curtains. Yeah, I got it all off of pretty much all of it off Vinted, to be fair. So after I gave her the brief, like she got on it straight away. She was already doing sketches and mock-ups and she was on it straight away, which doesn't surprise me too much because she's a very busy woman. So she had actually a lot planned and a lot going on in just her daily life and calendar anyway. So I knew she would probably be getting on it sooner rather than later. She's also not a procrastinator like me, so yeah, I knew she would get on it a lot quicker before I got even close to starting, but no surprise there. Um I got my fabrics. The purple one came in the post. Then I got the black fabric to go over the top. And then I continued to procrastinate for way too long. When I was looking for fabric though, I did come across some other options than the ones that I did get. One was a backup single duvet set I found in my local charity shop, which was the deep purple I was looking for. That was like a crushed velvet that ombre into silver. So I bought that as a backup because I'd already found the curtains, but I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get them before someone else snatched them up. So I did get this bed, like this set as a backup. No clue where that is, by the way. Didn't end up needing it, so there we go. Um, and I then did, after I bought the curtains as well that I was going to use and did end up using, I found this gorgeous sparkly fabric that reminds me of Olivia Rodrigo's 2022 Met Gala dress. Slightly different shades, but same vibe. And then I was so close to buying it to maybe like do a recreation of Olivia's dress. I didn't because that fabric was kind of expensive and I'd already spent a lot of fabric or like money on fabric already. And I didn't know if it would be enough for a full dress, so I didn't end up buying it. I think it's still on Vinted to be fair, but I didn't end up buying that. Stuck with the one I got. Also for the black fabric, I got like this it's kind of like an organza material. Um, like black curtains to put over the top of the purple. I did find this like black fabric with silver like glittery stars on. However, I didn't know the exact dimensions of the fabric and it could have been like too stiff to work with, more like a netting. So I didn't end up buying that also because it sold out like within a day. So that was that too. But I did get the two sets of curtains, which also life hack to any at home sewers or people like me, fashion students, if you're at college or even doing GCSEs, and that if you need to buy your own fabrics and you can't afford it, just go to charity shops. Just go to charity shops, buy the tablecloths, the curtains, the bed sheets. Like I can get a pair of curtains from my local charity shop for like £3. And that's so much material to work with. So go to them if you need fabric. A little life hack for you. Um, yeah, so I ended up getting my fabrics and I still procrastinated for ages to get on this. So fast forward to June of 2025. Finally started actually working on the project. So I'd bought the two fabrics and I was a little bit nervous because when I put the black on top of the purple, the black was like the purple wasn't bright enough to really shine through, so it looked a lot darker than it actually was, so it looked more black than purple. And in some pictures it did look like that in the end, but I promise you it was, you could see the purple. Okay, there was a vision, there was a vision. So because I was a bit concerned about the black on top of the purple looking too dark, that did kind of lead to me procrastinating a lot longer because I thought this isn't going to work out exactly how I imagined it. It's not going to be perfect. So that's why I was like, I'm a little bit scared to start. But I did end up making the mock-up on, I don't know what day it was, but I just suddenly was like, okay, I'm motivated, I'm gonna do something. I was also started filming this at the exact same time I was filming my last video, which was posted like over like a month ago. I'm so sorry I disappeared. This has been a big project, and then I procrastinated editing this, and then I refilmed it, and but yeah, regularly scheduled content will be coming soon. Um, but I procrastinated doing the pattern. Because yeah, I was doing my other project, painting those shoes. Go check that video out if you haven't already. Not many of you have seen that. I feel like you should go look. Um, I yeah started making the mock-up. Did a different technique than I usually do because bear in mind this is the first time I've ever made something wearable for me. At college, I've always done it where it's fit the mannequin because you know it's meant for college projects, not actually meant to be wearable. And then if it does need to be worn, I give it to my friend to wear because the mannequin was her size, not mine. So I've never actually made something for me to wear. Got things that I can wear, or just won't wear them out because they're more art pieces than wearable pieces. Um, but yeah, so this is the first time I'm making for myself, so keep that in mind. But I use this technique, which I've seen mostly on the interwebs, like Instagram Reels, mostly, um, where you get masking tape and tape it to yourself, and then draw out the design you want, and then peel it off, cut it out, and turn it into a pattern. Now, I think this is mostly very common within the cosplaying community, rather than high fashion couture. But I definitely have seen very similar methods there. So I thought, hey, I'll give this a go because my mannequin isn't my size. So I thought I'll give it a go and see how it works. And to be fair, I actually really like this technique and will probably be doing it again in the future. Yeah, I taped it out, or I peeled it off, and then I cut out the shapes that I'd drawn on myself, and then yeah, that makes sense. And then I cut them out, stuck them onto like these big pieces of paper, added the 1 cm seam allowance. Don't forget to do that. I almost did. And then I cut those pieces out, so now I had like these pattern pieces. The same day, I was feeling really motivated this day. I then started to make a mock-up. So I went to go find some like scrap fabric that I had in my massive stash. For some reason I have a massive stash of fabric. Order tendencies. At least they come in useful. I found like these curtains that I used like 2 years ago in a random college project. Again, bought them from the charity shop and basically cut out the pattern, stitched it together, made a mock-up, which I don't usually do, but definitely do that because it is useful. And tried it on, and it seemed to fit well. Just the bust part just seemed like it was a little low, so I decided off camera to edit that part of the pattern to just add a couple more centimeters to the top part so it wasn't too low. And I thought I might not need it, but I'm glad I did because the dress was like fine, but if I left it like a couple centimeters a bit lower, yeah, that would have been too low for me. But yeah, so maybe it was a good thing I actually did a mock-up for once. Um, Yeah, and then I just didn't touch this project again for a while. Also, as I'm going along, I've not shown you a sketch of like, oh, this is what I'm doing, because I have a habit of not doing that. I come up with an image in my head and I'm like, yep, this is what I'm doing, and I follow that. So no one actually knows what I'm doing, and I just have to give I try and explain it, and they're like, what are you doing? Until it's at the end. If you're a fashion student, don't do that. Don't do that. Just draw out everything. Everything in your head needs to be on paper, otherwise you're not going to get the marks. Learned that the hard way. Anyway, um, continuing on, I eventually did start working on this. I think we're in more of July of 2025 at this point. Um, yeah, I'm very slow at working, clearly. I again was procrastinating about the fabrics working, but then I eventually was like, I've just got to deal with it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Luckily it did. But I started cutting out the purple parts to this, and then I ended up cutting out the black parts. Well, I cut out the purple parts and stitched them together, cut out the black parts, stitched them together, then stitched the black part on top of the purple part. I wouldn't, not right sides together because I needed the black on the top, so it was like wrong side of the purple and technically the wrong side of the black, but the black is the same side either way, so it doesn't really matter. But stitch it on the back of the purple and then trim down the extra bits of the seams before then flipping it the other way around so it was on top. However, because the stiffness of the black fabric, it kind of poofed up a little bit, so I did have to whip out the iron, which I don't really use, but if you want it to look professional and very, you know, finished, iron, 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 iron as you go. This is the only time I did whip out the iron, and in hindsight, I probably should have done it for the skirt part because you could see the wrinkles on the fabric. Um, but I did iron it here, so it was all flat and then sewable. Sewable? Yeah. After this, I'd finished basically the bodice part, which was easy and didn't take that long at all. So there was no reason to procrastinate. Anyway, after I got that done, there was about a week until the deadline. Yes, I had started planning this 6 months in advance and I left it all to the last week. That's just me. That's just me. I always be doing that. Don't do that though, it's not good. But I still do it, so. Still haven't learned my lesson yet. There we go. I then had to work on the skirt part. Now this really fried my brain for some reason. Again, I haven't also just want to mention, I have not sewn in like a year. I finished college at the end of May 2024. I started this project, or I started doing the sewing part of this project of June of 2025. I have not done a single bit of sewing. Well, that's not true. I did flip a skirt like last July and then converted the okay, but like I haven't done a proper sewing project. To be fair, I did do okay. In like a year, I've not touched my sewing machine and I've not done a proper project either. So I've not tried to do some form of maths for pattern cutting. I've not had to try and figure out anything. I've just been doom scrolling TikTok for too many hours per day for the last year. So this project kind of I was working a bit slow, but I still figured it out. Anyway, just keep that in mind. Give me some space. Space? Slack. Slack, because the girl was struggling a little bit. It's fine, I got through it. Yeah, the skirt part, I have never actually done like a full dress where it's like attached to each other. I've done two-piece parts, but not like a one-piece dress, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So I tried to attach the skirt. Now I didn't film any of this part because I was trying to do many things at once, plus watching sewing and being in the background. And also talking to my brother whilst trying to figure it out. And just having a tripod that's already broken and accidentally knocking that over as well on top of everything. So you're just gonna have to like listen to me explain things. As curtains come in pairs, I used just under half of it for the bodice, or yeah, for one curtain, just under half for the bodice, and then I used basically a whole curtain for the skirt. Now the curtains have obviously already got stitches along, so it has a channel running. So if you then flip it from portrait to landscape, one at the side, on the sides there's seams. Now in the seams there's a channel, so I got string and I put it along the channel thing, and then I wrapped it around my waist and then gathered it to the size of my waist. And then, using my mannequin, even though not my size, still came in useful, had the bodice on the mannequin and then pinned the bottom of the skirt around the edge of the bodice. And then I did the same again with the black. And then I stitched it in place. But I folded it over, so right sides together, and then stitched them in place, if that makes sense. It took me a while to try and figure it out, but I did do it eventually. So there we go. After I'd done that, I'd stitched them together, then stitched up the back seam, so it was like all the way around. I stitched them two separate back seams. And then I tried it on, again didn't film, and then found out it was way too long. So I then had to hem the bottom of it. I had to do some measurements, hem the bottom of it, which was a little bit annoying considering it was already hemmed, and I was hopefully going to use that to my advantage, but it's too long, so I had to cut it. And then rehem it, which then was a bit wonky. I don't think anyone noticed it, but I knew. I knew it was wonky. But yeah, I did it to a length so it just skimmed the floor. It was a little bit longer in the back, which was intentional. But yeah, I didn't want it to be like touching the floor properly because then it's going to be dragging across the city floor all day. And then what ended up happening was it rained all day on my birthday, so then that also happened. But we'll get onto that in a second. Yeah, and then I got that all done. The only things I really need to do now was add the eyelets into the back. Now I had luckily some silver ones, silver star eyelets randomly in the house. Don't know why I have them, but there we go. I did use, well, I used 10, I had 14 in total eyelets, 7 on each side. I only had 8 silver star ones, so that's 4 silver stars on each side, then 2 gold stars at the bottom, and then 2 on each side silver square ones, if that makes sense. Okay, don't need to worry about that one too much. By this point as well, it was Sunday and my birthday was a Thursday, so I was coming down to the last couple days. And I did end up baking my birthday cake at the same time, well, on the Tuesday. But on the Sunday, when doing the eyelets, I sustained an injury on my finger. Now, when making the holes in the fabric, I would get my scissors and don't do this. I don't know all the proper ways to do it, but this is what I did, and I've been fine for so long till now. I would get my scissors closed, try and stab it through. Didn't work. Open it up, stab it opened up. Don't do that. Fabric scissors are extra sharp. And then stab that through with the one blade. And then once that's kind of got a hole going, close them again, stab the scissors through closed, pointing upwards and pushing down with the fabric. Don't do that anyway. I was very close to the end and it suddenly went through, slipped, and I sliced my finger right on that bit, like there, right on the bend of my finger. It's completely fine now because it has been almost a month since I did that. But yeah, I did bleed slightly, ran out into a cold tap and taped kitchen roll around my finger. And then I decided to stop recording and just concentrate. And did the exact same thing again. I didn't cut myself, but I just continued doing what I'm doing because 1, I don't know how else to do it, and 2, I simply do not learn from my mistakes. Clearly. Yeah, it didn't cut through my skin or skin. I didn't like how I phrase that. I didn't cut myself again, so that's good. But I did sustain another injury a couple hours later because I had spent so long sat on the cold hard kitchen floor for not only hours that day, but for the last week and month working on this project, that when I went upstairs to go sit in my room where it's more comfortable to start doing the rhinestones on top of the dress, yes, I was adding rhinestones, my back hurt a lot. My lower back specifically was killing me to the point where I couldn't move for a bit because it was so painful. So that's why I filmed nothing of the rhinestones, because I physically couldn't move. I started doing the rhinestoning before it hurt, and then at some point when I was doing it, it hurt. And I couldn't move to get my tripod and things to set up, so I just had to, luckily I've got so many squishmallows, but prop myself up with my squishmallows at an awkward angle and just sit there and rhinestone. And then it just so happened to be my friend's birthday, so I was also on a phone call to him, so if I was talking to him on the phone, I couldn't record. Unfortunately, sorry about that. But with the rhinestones, I did buy these off of, well, tried to buy them off of Vinted. I bought black ones off of Vinted, and then I tried to buy silver ones off of Vinted, but they never sent them. They even asked for an extension, but they still never sent them. So that was a bit annoying. I did buy backups, which were a couple sizes smaller. I think the size that I used was 4mm, and then also bought backups in 2mm, I think. I ended up buying the silver ones off of Amazon because I did do an order off Amazon. I know I was trying to keep most of it to secondhand only, but this was last minute and I didn't know where else to get silver rhinestones secondhand, so I just had to buy them straight away. I also bought dark purple rhinestones and purple jelly rhinestones at the same time. I never ended up using these. Oops. Yeah, I started by rhinestoning all the silver stones, both sizes, only on the purple bit, not on the bodice, but on the skirt. And then I put the black back over the top. And on the black fabric, I then stuck on the black rhinestones, even on the bodice, but a few less of them. I wanted to do the silver underneath the black because, one, I thought the silver would be too harsh on top of it, and then also it kind of gave the effect of stars in the night sky, which I thought was kind of a nice addition to this dress. But yeah, I spent most of Sunday evening doing the silver rhinestones, and then I did it again on the Monday evening, and then on the Tuesday evening I started on my cake. So I woke up, it was a massive cake, by the way, 3 layers, and the tin was huge. I did buy that secondhand on Vinted. There wasn't any dimensions, so when I got it, I was like, that's a little big. But then I did do 3 layers because I wanted to do kind of like the, what's it called, a vintage cake style. It's not very trendy anymore, but I still like it. Okay. I really wanted it in a heart, and then I remembered I'm doing stars, and so I got a star one, which was pretty cool, but it was huge. So I started baking my cake all day on the Tuesday. Then I had to go out for a little bit in the evening, and then come home, start on the icing of the cake, and then I had to do the rhinestoning on the Tuesday, and then on the Wednesday, I had to continue with my. I had to wake up really early, finish doing the rhinestoning on the dress, continued on with my cake, and then went out in the evening because, as again, my friend's birthday was on the Sunday and then mine was on the Thursday, so we went out to Spoons together with a couple of his friends that I also know. Went out for drinks, came home. Also, when I was out, I needed to get something to lace up the back of the dress because I thought we might have black ribbon or something close. Didn't have anything. Couldn't be bothered to whip out my sewing machine anymore to create something out of the fabric I already had. I thought, well, if I'm already going out, I'll pop into the works and buy some ribbon, which I did. I bought the silver sparkly ribbon, which I did end up using, and I also bought white ribbon as a backup in case that didn't work for whatever reason. I don't know what's going through my head. Okay, I wanted a backup, but the silver one worked fine, so now I just have a white ribbon, which will come in handy in the future, I imagine. So I did buy them when I was out, and then I came home and laced up the back of my dress and continued to decorate my cake. A little bit drunk, but I still did it. And that now leads me to my birthday. I woke up a little bit really early. I had to wake up early to get ready. I did my makeup a little bit different. I did like purple and extra sparkles. And then I was gonna do my hair in like a messy bun. Couldn't figure out how to do it. Didn't have enough time, so I just did like a half up, half down thing. Which I usually do anyway. Do love my half up, half downs. But it was a bit different where I just kind of like got the chunk, put it there, clipped it in place, and then got it and clipped it, if that makes sense. For the additions of this dress, accessory wise, I got a silver bag of Vinted, which is actually really cute, and I would like to, and I have been using it other than my birthday. I also bought black mesh gloves as well. I was going to buy them off Vinted, but people were selling them really, really expensive, and I couldn't afford that at the time. So I did have to buy them off Amazon because they were cheaper, but I will get many more uses out of them because they are so cool. I then also had a star belt anyway, my regular bracelet rotation that I wear anyway, a necklace that I already had, 2 necklaces I already had, a new pair of earrings that I bought Vinted, which are actually really cool. I like them a lot. Don't know where I'm going to wear them again. Hopefully soon. And I think that was it for the actual outfit. So yeah, it was either secondhand, I already owned, or been needing anyway. Or both. Who knows? For shoes wise, I was not going to walk around in heels. So I just put on my fake Converse looking shoes. And there we go. I basically had my outfit all together. So I then left the house because we're meeting at 10:30 in the morning, which is our usual time. So I left the house just before 10 and walked down to the bottom of my road to go get the bus. So it was already drizzling with rain, which basically was the entire day. Um, Heading down to the bus, and this is the only time I started thinking, oh my god, this is a bit weird, and now I've got a little bit of anxiety. Um, I got over it after a while. Like, as soon as I got on the bus, I was like, actually, I feel alright. But I did get a couple strange looks from dog walkers as I walked to the bus stop. I got on the bus, and it was actually kind of busy. Pretty sure people were judging me, but at that point, I was like, who cares? I did turn up a little bit earlier than usual, and then my friend was later than usual, so I had to stand outside in the pouring rain under some shelter because the signal's really poor in any building, unfortunately. So I had to stand down and wait for her. And yeah, there was a lot of weird looks from people. Um, but luckily, I feel like it wasn't the weirdest thing I could have done, you know? But one thing I was worried about, I was drawing too much attention to myself because I was like, ooh, people are going to be judging me. But then it's because it's so out there. Well, not like that crazy, but you know, it's against the norm that more people just go out of their way to ignore you even more, which worked perfectly actually. Um, but yeah, so I ended up meeting up with my friend. She did eventually turn up. Um, and we finally got to see each other's looks because another thing we did was we didn't know what each other's outfit was gonna be until we saw each other, which I don't know why, I don't remember why we did this, but we just did, and I thought it was just like an added thing of, oh, it was a surprise, as well. And I really liked her outfit. Her co-workers described it as a Hannah Montana look, and to be fair it is, but it's also very her. Um But yeah, so we met up. I had some glitter to her look, and we ended up going bowling, which was pretty cool. I'm really rubbish at bowling, but we did go there because one, it's a bit of fun, and two, also for the cool lighting for the glittery outfits. After there, we just kind of wandered around the shops. I can't lie, we ended up in TK Maxx because since June they've had Halloween decorations, and I do love Halloween, but in June, I thought it was bad a couple of years ago when it was in August. In June, um, but we did go have a little look, and yeah, well, as soon as we were together, it was fine, and we just pretended like this was normal. And yeah, we had wandered around TK Maxx, and we wandered around Tiger, and we just wandered around the city as it was if it was a normal hangout. Um, we ended up going. Then we went to McDonald's, which the whole point was us to go sit in McDonald's and eat our food to look out of place. But it was kind of busy because it was lunchtime, so we ended up staying outside, listening to someone singing outside of Primark, even though it's heavily auto-tuned. Um, I was gonna say if anyone knows what I'm on about, then you know, but I don't think anyone's gonna know what I'm on about unless you live in the same place as me, but I'm not gonna try and dox myself. But yeah, and then in this area we also attempted to do ballroom dancing because at that point, why not? Then realised neither of us knew how to do that. So then we moved on to go to our usual route of charity shops that we always go look in. Did that as usual, and yeah, just kind of wandered around the city until we could find something else to do. We ended up deciding we wanted to take more pictures, like an actual photo shoot. So we were thinking, well, we've got a lot of old architecture. We need to embrace this. We need to take advantage of this. And we found one of many churches to go stand outside of, and that had a cool door, so we were taking pictures there. And then we sat and we're like, the whole point of this is so we stand out and look out of place, which we definitely did. Definitely people our age side eyeing us at this point. Um, but then we're like, oh yeah, we're supposed to look out of place. Where are we gonna go? Tesco's. So we just wandered into a Tesco's Express, wandered around, ended up finding like purple food products and posing with them, as you do. Um, yeah, normal behavior. Yeah, we continued to wander before like, yeah, we're gonna call it a day. But yeah, we met like 10ish, and then went home by 4, almost 5ish. So we were out for a while and it was raining all day. It was very overcast, very rainy, very damp, which did cause a couple of problems with my dress, which we are now going to get onto. My overall thoughts and the damage caused to the dress. My sewing skills are a bit not the greatest. I do cut a lot of corners. I'm a lazy sewer. Oops, I only fold the fabric over once to sew it instead of flipping it over twice. And both of these fabrics frayed very easily compared to what I've experienced with other projects. Like they don't fray that easily, whereas this one did. Um, whilst making it, like even when I was doing the rhinestones, I did have to hand stitch a couple seams on the bodice that had just it like frayed and then caused holes. So I had to quickly hand sew those up before I went out. And then when I was out, because I'm like moving around stuff in this dress, it caused more holes and rips. Nothing like crazy, but those would need to be fixed. Rhinestones as well. A lot of the black ones fell off because I think they're just on the surface, but I think also the fabric as well was like a slippery surface, so it didn't like stick properly. But also because my body's then like moving and like brushing up against it and like knocking them off. Also, it was raining, so that didn't help. Also the bottom of the dress. Obviously, the dress ended up damp by the time I got home, but obviously on the hem part, it's not only scraping against the city floor, which I knew was going to happen and knew was going to cause issues, but it was also wet city floor with puddles. And yeah, it already got a bit destroyed, and plus because it was fraying and I only flipped it over once before I stitched it instead of twice, the frays were then there. And then a couple times there were these matted patches, or like threads, matted threads that were wet, damp, and also I collected leaves, so I did have to kind of just rip them off as I was walking. So there's a bit of damage to the dress, but I don't know if I'm gonna wear this again, if I'm ever gonna wear this again, or what I'm gonna do with it now. Probably try and turn it into a Halloween costume, maybe, or just have it in case I ever want to go to McDonald's again. But yeah, my final thoughts. Oh, it was also too big. I don't know if this is a me thing or just because I'm not a bit. Um, I yeah, it just ended up a bit too big, which I wasn't too surprised by, because I didn't want it to end up too small, but with that it ended up being too big. Especially on the bodice. Like the skirt bit was fine. It was just more on the bodice where it looked a lot baggier in pictures because it was just baggy. But I didn't add a lining on the inside. Again, it's just like all these raw seams everywhere, and so there's no lining and there was no boning and there was no structure to it. So I wasn't too surprised it did that. But at the same time, it was still too big, which is a bit annoying. But apart from that, it was fine. Final thoughts. I had a great time. To be fair, I had a great time. We got a couple compliments from people, which was really nice. Typically like older people, like probably middle-aged and upwards, if that makes sense. And yeah, we got a lot of compliments from them. I think, and also like younger, but like teenagers. I feel so old when I say teenagers. I'm still a teenager. Only just. But you know, people our age or like a little bit younger side-eyed us so heavily. Or like even like teenage, more like the boys. And that day I remember there was like a group of them that just like, "Ooh, what are they doing, you weirdos?" And we were just minding our own business. Obviously we did not care, we just laughed at it because it was funny. But no, like the older people, there was like this older lady who stopped us to compliment us on our dresses and asked us where we were going to or we were dressed up, and we're like, "Oh, no in particular." And she was like, "Oh, well, what a lovely idea to brighten up a rainy day." And yeah, that just kind of made us. But yeah, two girlies who are very, not, I was gonna say antisocial, no, very introverted, who, it's not that we draw attention to ourselves, we just do our own thing anyway, but you know, the, yeah, two very introverted people doing something very out there. We both had a bit of anxiety over it, but then as soon as we were there together, like the both of us together, then we were fine, which I kind of knew was gonna happen anyway. Yeah, we did get also less attention at the same time. So it kind of did work. But yeah, it was annoying that we didn't go to looking back, as we didn't even end up going to McDonald's. Oh well, we'll probably do this again at some point, and even talking about stuff as well. Maybe going to a museum dressed up as a pirate because we think that would just be funny. Or, you know, there's a couple of things I want to do. I want to do some like historical garments because we have a lot of older architecture that we really need to take advantage of. Got a couple good places that I think we could do some photo shoots. And I also just really want to get back into sewing. Like it's something I wanted to do at university, and that didn't end up happening right now in life. Um, yeah, just something that I really want to be doing. So maybe I'll do more projects in the future. I definitely I bought some sewing patterns from a charity shop that I definitely want to do at some point, and I have some fabric I want to use, or curtains I want to use into dresses. So I definitely want to do more of this. So if you're interested in it, I will do more of this. But yeah, to any people going through GCSE textiles or doing A level or equivalent sort of things, or maybe even at university, I don't know. If you're doing anything fashion or textiles related, listen to the things, like I say, do and don'ts, and mostly like don't do a lot of stuff that I do because I did it wrong and my tutors didn't like that, and I was doing the bare minimum half the time, so don't do that. So yeah, that was basically how not to make a dress. If you enjoyed it, thanks so much for watching. I did do, oh, when I got home I did have to finish off my birthday cake, and I did do a little photo shoot in the corner of my room as well, which those images ended up on my Instagram, so if you haven't seen those already, I recommend you go check me out over there. um but yeah, so if you like more fashion related content, I'm very much wanting to be doing that as well. But if you're here for my squishmallows, don't worry, there is more to come. If you may have noticed already in the background, there is at least two that you can see that are ones that weren't in my collection previously. But yeah, I've bought quite a few, so there'll be more of that and more fashion related content as well. So if you're interested in that. Yeah, thank you all so much for watching today's video. Hope you enjoyed something a little bit different. Sorry I've been gone so long. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Maybe like this video, comment something, um, and yeah, subscribe if you want to see more. Bye!